But I'm going to put something new out there, something you won't see elsewhere. All right? Now, I'll work into it slowly. All right? We're gonna gradually ease you into it. But I'd like to start the conversation with this notice. I think Hitler was a bad guy. Thoroughly. Fuck his little mustache. Fuck the things he did when on office. Fuck his clothing, his eyelashes. Fuck his dog. Fuck his chair. Fuck his car and the comb that he used for his little weird haircut. Fuck everything about him. Thoroughly fuck him. Everything. Now, let me tell you what I see. Right? Everybody's got a take on this, and we're all guessing. So anybody's opinion about what's going on in Ye's head is ridiculous. Wouldn't you agree? Wouldn't you agree it's sort of ridiculous to speculate what's in his head? Because whatever's in there makes Ye, and whatever's in your head made you. And if you could know what was in his head, well, you would have been the richest black man in America for a little while, too. Maybe. So we don't know what he's thinking. But here's what I would dismiss as the least likely explanation. The least likely explanation is that it's only mental health. It's just mental health. I think that's the least likely. But definitely it's involved. Would you all agree that his mental health is part of the story, but we don't know what percentage? Would you agree with that? It looks like it could be a lot, but we don't know. It's hard to know. Because here's the other possibility. The other possibility is that he's just being Ye. And that he's picking intentionally the single most provocative thing he could do on social media because that's the test. That's the test. It's the ultimate test of free speech. Can he say his opinion on social media? Well, if his opinion incited violence, would you agree that that would be inappropriate and that you should kick somebody off for inciting violence? How many of you would agree that if it's very clear, let's say he said, let's all get together and pick up guns and go attack some other group, you would kick him off of social media for that, right? If it's clear. So in my hypothetical, everybody would say, oh, that's clear. Nobody would argue about it in some hypothetical thing. So Musk says, okay, this is clearly inciting violence with this logo, and maybe with his rhetoric as well, but mostly the logo, because that's the part that was on Twitter. And so Musk, and probably consulted some other people, decided that was against Twitter's long-established rules about inciting violence, and so he kicked him off. Are you comfortable with that? You know it's the end of free speech, right? It's the end of free speech. You couldn't even pretend there's free speech under this condition. You know why? In the law, and I'd say with terms of service as well, there has always been a reasonable person standard. Do you know what that means? It means that you have to make laws and also terms of service with the understanding that there is such a thing as a reasonable person. Now, you could argue whether such people exist, but you have to have that standard that any reasonable person would look at this other reasonable person and that all the reasonable people would say, yeah, that's reasonable, right? Without getting into all the details of all the different things that could ever happen in the world, can we all agree that if we all look at it and it looks reasonable, we'll just treat it like it was reasonable, right? Now, that standard, I would say, has worked for maybe hundreds of years. I'm not sure when it became, a legal standard in this country, but it's a long standard that's worked really well. So why not keep using it? Why not keep using the standard that's worked forever? Let me tell you why. Do you know where that standard doesn't work? When you're all woke. You can't have a reasonable person standard when the environment is wokeness. Because you know what? Wokeness is not reasonable. It's not. It's opinion. And so, Elon Musk's opinion that this logo was inciting violence differs from my opinion. Which one of us are right? My opinion is that it did not incite violence. Very offensive, provocative. He may have intended that. But did it incite violence? Well, here's the problem. At a deeply conceptual level, yes. Right? At a conceptual level, yes. Anytime you identify a group and then you throw some shade at them, you are making it easier for someone else to say, well, everybody's throwing shade at this group. I'll bet I could slap this person on the sidewalk and people would cheer me because everybody's saying bad stuff about these people. Watch. I'll just go up to this person and just slap them and put it on video and everybody's going to laugh. This will be very viral, right? So you would agree that putting shade on any group incites violence. So by that standard, Musk is correct because he put shade on the Jewish community. And by definition, that makes it easier for somebody else somewhere to abuse them because they think they've got some cover. Here's the problem. It would apply to everything. It applies to everything. You would have to take everybody off of social media. Do you know how many times I've said something that threw shade on an identifiable group? Like every day? Democrats? How many times have I put shade on leftists or Democrats? I put shade on all kinds of people, including Ye. I'm putting shade on Musk right now. I'm saying he's got a standard that can't work. Right? Twitter is nothing but people throwing shade on people. I'm literally calling for an armed attack on the cartels on Twitter. I'm not just inciting violence. I'm trying as hard as I can to create violence. But I guess I'm okay. Why? Presumably because people think that's good violence. Right? Oh, that would be the good kind of violence. Or I have an argument for it or something, so that's okay. Is it too direct? Yeah. See, the problem here is that as soon as you allow that somebody can decide what incites violence, and there's no standard for inciting violence because everything looks like it does, you have no free speech. That is the end of free speech. The only thing you can say on Twitter are things that Elon Musk personally believes will not incite violence. You trust that? It doesn't matter if it's Elon Musk. It doesn't matter who the fuck it is. If it's somebody else's opinion of what will incite violence, you're done with free speech. That's it. But the important point is, the standard did work until recently. The reasonable person standard was perfectly fine until wokeness made all speech violent. As soon as all speech is violent, you can't use that standard anymore. And that's what's happening here. I believe that Musk is essentially trying to guess what other people would have thought was reasonable. Right? He had a guess of what other people would think was reasonable because he's doing things for public appearance as well as his own opinion. You think he was told to do it? In a sense, yeah. I think there was so much immediate pushback. Now, here's why my take on Ye is a little different than the rest. Is mental illness involved? Probably. Probably. Because Ye says that himself. I mean, he's not hiding it, right? And I think his actions suggest a non-standard personality. Now, non-standard can be good, right? People with mental illness make great art. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. But here's what I'm going to add. I would not rule out the fact that Ye is trying to break the system, and he might. Instead of, he's not trying to win the game. He's trying to throw the board up. You know what I mean? He knows he can't win the game because he didn't make the rules. The rules are made by other people, and he doesn't have an advantage there. So if he plays the game by its rules, he loses. But Ye is not the person who loses. It's not in his nature to not think he can succeed. So he just takes it to the next step. What is the next step? The next step is you throw the whole board over. So he came into Twitter with a Raelian logo that he might have known was not provocative in that context, or as provocative. He may have tested the limits of Musk's free speech and broken. In my opinion, he broke Elon Musk. Elon Musk fucked up. He fucked up. And it wasn't because Elon Musk is dumb, because he's not. It's not because Elon Musk is uninformed, because he's not. It's not because Elon Musk has bad intentions, because he doesn't. It's not because he doesn't like Ye, because that doesn't seem to be the case. It's because it's an impossible fucking situation. Elon Musk has chosen a standard that cannot be enforced. It cannot be enforced. And Ye just broke the whole fucking game, because he just proved it. He just proved that free speech is gone. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was exactly what he was fucking trying to do. Now, that doesn't mean he wins. That doesn't mean Ye becomes president. Doesn't mean he goes back to his old reputation. But he had a goal, and he fucking did it. He did it. He did it. Now, you can hate him. That's fine. I wouldn't argue with you at all. You can say he's really anti-Semite, and that's the whole story. Okay. I think he's given you that. In other words, he's walked into your trap, and if you'd like to spring the trap, I say, okay, but so does he. So does Ye. Ye says, spring the trap. That's what he says. He says, go ahead, spring it. Let's see how this plays out. But he did turn over the board, and the rules just changed. And did you think I would be arguing that wokeness makes the reasonable person standard extinct? I didn't think so. I didn't think I'd wake up this morning and say that he broke Elon Musk, but he did. He did. Now, let's be really careful here, because somebody's going to watch this and say, Scott supported Ye, who supports Hitler, so Scott's a Nazi, blah, blah, blah. To which I say, are we really talking about black Ye becoming the leader of the white supremacists? Because that's what people are acting like. They're acting like the white supremacists are going to rally around Ye. And that's our danger. Because what if everybody listens to Ye, all the white supremacists, and they say, Ye, you're our new leader? Are we really talking about we want to reduce the risk that the white supremacists will start following a black man in America? I mean, the whole thing has become so ridiculous that Ye's point is really being made. He is making his point. And whether you agree with it, you hate him, I'm just to say it again, I don't approve of any level of anti-Semitism, period. But here's an interesting question. If you were to ask Ye if white people should be allowed to use the N-word, what would he say? Has anybody ever asked him that? Because he's basically making the stand that he can say whatever he wants about the Jewish community, even if it's offensive. I mean, I feel like that's what he's trying to make the point. He's trying to make the point that free speech extends to where he wants to extend it, I guess, as odious as that feels. But if Ye says, no, you can't use the N-word, but I can say anti-Semitic things, then he's either crazy or just a fucking asshole. If you ask Ye and he says, you know what? I do think you should be able to use that word in public, then he has a point. You can disagree with it. You can disagree with it. There's plenty of room to disagree. But it's not crazy if he's consistent, right? So I'm only looking for consistency. I'm not saying I agree with him. I'm just saying, is that crazy? Like, crazy would look inconsistent. But if he has a consistent point of view where he actually just broke open the conversation about free speech, then what I saw on Alex Jones was 80% performance art, the good kind, and 20% mental illness. And here's what I mean by performance art. It's supposed to shock you. It's supposed to make you say, this couldn't possibly be art. This must be something else. It's Piss Jesus. Do you remember Piss Jesus? There was the artist who made a crucifix that was contained in a container of urine. Yeah, Piss Christ. It was Piss Christ. And everybody said, no, that's the worst thing in the world. And other people said, welcome to art. Welcome to art. It's the worst thing in the world, sometimes. So, is Ye a good guy? I don't know. Is Ye right about his criticisms of the Jewish community? I doubt it. I mean, it just sounds like he has problems with individuals that he's generalized. That doesn't, I can't support that. But did he do a performance piece of art that changed the conversation in a meaningful way, in a way that could be positive? Because that's, good art makes you angry, but maybe there's something good that comes out of it. I don't know, it looked like performance art to me. Now, if you say, but he's also crazy, I say, yeah, I give you that, like 20%. But I think he actually moves the needle. Well, I don't know. But those who have been watching me for a long time, can you confirm that I've always said the following thing? Because this is important. I've always said that Ye is not somebody who creates art. He is someone who is art. He lives it. He lives art. Every time he walks outside, he is the art, right? He dresses the art, he talks the art. He's never not the art. There are people who are artists. Oh, I guess I would be one. So I'm a perfect example of an artist, so to speak, who is very different from my art. Like when I'm drawing my art, I'm an artist. And when I'm standing outside, I'm just ordinary guy standing outside. Like I'm not an artist when I leave the house. You know what I mean? But Ye, he's an artist all the time. He's not the artist who was something else on the Alex Jones show. He just took his art to Alex Jones. And I saw art. And I also saw the highest level of art I may have ever experienced. Does that mean I liked it? Not exactly, because it was odious, right? But did I recognize it as art? Yes, I did. In my opinion, that was art, and the fact that you hated it doesn't make it not art, because you didn't like Piss Christ either. Is cartoonist different from artist? Well, that's another conversation, somewhat. So, can I be very clear on this? Ye is not trying to make us like him. So I don't. Okay? He's not trying to get us to agree that Hitler was a good guy. He's not trying to do that. Do you think he was trying to convince you Hitler was a good guy? No. To me, it looked like he said to himself, what is the thing I'm least allowed to say? Watch me say it. And then he did it. He found the one thing that he's least allowed to say, and then he said it. He's the only free person in the country. Do you know the old Janis Joplin song from the 60s, in which she said, freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose? Nothing left to lose. That's Ye. He lost his wife, his kids, custody, his reputation, his fortune. He has nothing left to lose. He's the only free person in the country. Because he's not in jail, And he can say anything he wants anywhere because he's willing to pay the price. And the price is extreme, and he's still willing to pay it. I don't know. There's something horrifying about this whole situation, of course. Holocaust denial and any anti-Semitic stuff is horrible and has to be disavowed. But there's also something happening about free speech. There's also something happening about art. And those are very big things also at the same time. All right.